From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your afternoon update.
You want to go where to buy a new refrigerator? Steve's A to Z Appliance in Cottonwood? In Cottonwood? Just a 10-minute drive. And they'll save us money. New and used, honest, reliable, factory-trained repair service and parts, and they'll save us money. And dispose of this thing? We gotta make the short drive to Steve's A to Z. Thanks, son.
Steve's A to Z Appliance, front and main streets in Cottonwood. Drive a little, save a lot.
Well, you come to Weather NorCal for the most accurate, reliable forecast. Of course, that goes without saying, right? Because that's what we focus on here, Weather NorCal. However, I like to have a little fun as well, and I have a segment called NorCal Ag Report, sponsored by Laston County Nursery. And this is just a great opportunity for you to learn more about local farms and ranches in this area. Just go to weathernorcal.com and click on the Ag Report, and you'll be able to watch all of the episodes that are available. You can also access, that is here, all of the Ag Reports from the free Weather NorCal app as well. Be sure to check that out. All right, the heat wave, something I've been talking about, something we've been experiencing. It will continue through all of next week. Expect record-breaking heat for today, tomorrow, and even really through the weekend most likely, with warm overnight lows continuing, and that fire danger remains elevated. We're kind of in that time of the year where almost every day you've got some sort of high fire danger due to the heat, or the dry conditions, or the winds, or all three combined. It's mainly going to be the heat and dry conditions over the next several days, although a bit on the breezy side, which we'll take a closer look at here in a second. But there you can see your forecast at a glance, your neighborhood forecast at a glance, and we're getting close to seeing that all-time high in parts of the valley. Otherwise, we're in the 100-degree plus range for most of the mountains, and for the coast, you're looking at temperatures in the low 70s. Let's talk about the smoke, because you've of course got the Thompson fire down to the south near Oroville. You've also got the Shelley fire in western Siskiyou County. The one that's producing most of the smoke, which really isn't even a lot, is going to be the Shelley fire. So what we're seeing here is basically just the potential for some haze. And it's not really till you start getting into some of the shades of yellow that you're going to see some of that noticeable and visible haze. But most likely you're not going to smell that smoke. So you can see there's just not a whole lot of haze that's developing here today, or tomorrow for that matter. Here's tomorrow as we take you into 10 p.m. Maybe a little bit of a plume of haze or smoke trying to work its way down closer to the valley. But overall, despite the fact that we got those fires out there, we're just not seeing a lot of smoke and haze out there. All right, so let's take a look at the fire weather alerts. So we're going to talk about this fire weather watch. Now, as I record this, it's still a fire weather watch. There's a chance that later on today, the Weather Service will upgrade it to a red flag warning. Now, it's mainly due to the gusty winds, low humidity, and hot temperatures. But for reasons I'm about to display to you, I do think that these areas here should also be part of this red flag warning or the fire weather watch. And here's why. Let's take a look at, first of all, the fire potential. And again, I have to disagree a little bit with this particular forecast model as well. It's showing H indicating hot and dry, but also the winds are a bit of a factor. Not as strong as what we saw earlier this week, but they are elevated. Okay, that's tomorrow. We're taking to Sunday, pretty much the same situation. Then we go into Monday, and you can see it gets more in that moderate range. So let's take a look, first of all, at the winds. So as we go into this afternoon, notice the winds more breezy than I'd like to see in the valley. If we can keep them below, say, 15 or 15 miles per hour or lower, that's when I'm most comfortable. But when we start getting into that 20 mile per hour range, that's when we got to be a little concerned. And we're kind of seeing that in some areas here, even for the higher elevations. But it's tomorrow that I think the winds will be even stronger. So as we go through Saturday afternoon, especially the west and northwest side of the valley, we're seeing some of those stronger wind gusts. You see how we're getting in those lighter shades of green? That's getting even upwards of the 25 mile an hour range. Not something I like to see this time of the year. But another thing you'll note here, especially out towards central, eastern Siskiyou County, Modoc County, eastern portions of Lassen, and even Plumas County, you're seeing some stronger winds there. Now the winds are certainly on the breezy side for Trinity County, western Siskiyou County, but I think the winds are going to be worse as you head off to the east, north, and northeast as well. That's Saturday afternoon. Sunday, a little breezy in some spots here, but we're kind of in the downward trend with those winds. So when we look at the fire weather risk, combining the temperature, combining the humidity and winds, we're in that high to very high range, actually very high to extreme range for the valley. But we're seeing a lot of yellows and oranges painted in here for the higher elevations. That's for this afternoon. Now we'll take you into Saturday, still in the very high to extreme range for the valley. But you see this? We're seeing a lot more orange on the map, putting us in that high to even very high range. Central Siskiyou County, to be expected here for Shasta Valley. We're not seeing as much of that orange for western Siskiyou or even Trinity County. There is some, but not as much. And of course, looks like even higher fire danger heading into southern Trinity County. Now Sunday, once again, the very high to extreme range for the valley, no big surprises there, but we're kind of starting to see that kind of back off a little bit, but still high in many cases here for some of the higher elevations, even into your Sunday. So we take a look at your satellite image. One of the reasons why it's so hot is this right here. Big, broad ridge of high pressure. See how the clouds are moving up and over that ridge of high pressure? That's the ridge. That's what's giving us the hot temperatures, not only for us, but for the entire western United States in general, is where we have all of the heat advisories, watches, and warnings. So the reason for all this, again, is that big, broad ridge of high pressure that you're seeing. Really what you're kind of seeing here is this ridge of high pressure right here. The center of it is where you have the hottest temperatures. Look where the center of that ridge of high pressure is on Saturday, right on top of NorCal in general. All right, that's when we expect the hottest temperatures. That's when we expect this heat wave to peak. After that, we'll see a slight dip in the temperatures. And I want to stress the word slight, because even though this is shifting to the south and the center of that heat is to our south, we're still well within that ridge of high pressure, keeping our temperatures hot. So from about 118 for Redding down to about 116, 115 by Sunday into Monday. Now as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, that ridge of high pressure expands northward. Now again, this is where the biggest part of the heat is, right here. We're still west of that, but it's still very hot through at least Thursday. The good news is by the end of next week into that next weekend, we're going to watch that ridge of high pressure shift to the east, and this cooler air here is going to migrate closer to us, and that's also what's helping to push that heat to our east, allowing our temperatures to drop. But again, still hot through next week. Very hot for tomorrow. Remember I was mentioning, it's for today that is, these temperatures 100 teens for most of us in the valley. Most of us in the mountains are also in the triple digits. Some of those cooler spots, Aden at 96, 99 degrees for Alturas, 95 for Tennant, kind of northeast Siskiyou County where we typically see the cooler temperatures. And of course for the coast, we're pretty warm too, in the low 70s for those daytime highs. So we look at your 7-day outlook. Everyone in the valley will be 100 degrees or higher all the way for the next 7 days, and even upwards of 110 degrees. And higher. We take a look at your 7-day outlook for the coast, inland, and for Trinity County. Trinity County over 100 degrees, inland most likely over 100 degrees. The coast 70 or higher through Sunday, back down to the 60s by Monday, Tuesday of next week. And how about Siskiyou County, Modoc County, and the eastern mountains? Well, look at that, 100 degrees or higher for the next 7 days there. Same thing for Alturas, and not to mention Susanville. But the good news is we should start to see a gradual drop in our temperatures as we go through next week.
We're the locals down the street. The neighbor you come to for advice. A nest egg for the golden years. A loan or a new account for that growing business. What started in Chico 50 years ago has taken us all around California, providing big bank lending power and high-tech service, while keeping our relationships personal. We're still the locals down the street, no matter where your street might be. Tri-Counties Bank, California's local bank.